Right, yes. It's Reams again with another video. Today we're talking about do racists have rights and this idea of the anti-white culture, right? And the anti-white sentiment. So apologies, yeah, I have dyslexia, so this might come not like nicest delivery, yeah. Um, but I'm reading this off this point sheet I've made, and we'll see how it goes. So, who is doing the anti-white sentiment and statement and culture and all that sort of bollocks, right? It's a lot of white people in America, apparently, mainly in America, what it seems to be at the moment. Hopefully, and we will move into the international anti-white culture, but specifically, mainly, it seems to be coming from white Americans. Now, if white Americans are saying that they should be racist to white people, I'd see that as an admission of guilt, right? And you should, if you are any person that hears a white person say you should be racist to white people, that you should kick them right up the arsehole because they're basically saying that they're the ones who it's their fault, right? So those people can fucking get a good hiding in my eyes because they're basically owning up to something which is quite horrible. So them people they can fuck right off. So let's get them people at the next picture. Next people is people outside of like who are white. So what upper class liberals who are of different ethnic backgrounds and stuff, right? And it doesn't necessarily seem to be sort of more hood people and stuff because they've probably got quite real problems facing in their lives and they probably don't have time for hating random white people. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, for the upper class people, they are all of them, white or black or any other description, they are living in a country which is built off the backs of slavery, right? For one. Two, they have a smartphone, they might have cheap phones, they might have this, that, the other, which has come from, slavery, modern day slavery. So, they're still potentially part of the problem. So everyone should be checking their ethics and thinking about how we can do things to support global like equality and all these sorts of things and fair trade and this that the other. So anyway, but yeah, the sad part being is that these people who are demonising white people aren't actually focusing on the victory and the fact, the pride for white people who have died to actually, free them and give them a decent life, right, nowadays. And instead, they're demonising all white people, which is a shame. So, if you are, a liberal-minded person, you've got anti-white sentiment, you should be thinking, no, I want to be celebrating victory and not demonising bad things, right? Because yeah, we want to be pushing towards greater values of life around the world all the time, and not just focusing on. Obviously, yeah, you can never forget about atrocities, but remember the victories. That's important to remember. To remember, yeah. So what? Anyway, moving on to what is white hate, right? So hatred for white, and where did it stem from? It's apparently from black oppression and slurs, right? And which is yeah, apparently, but yeah, probably quite realistically, that's a better word, right? But here's the thing: a lot of people have actually experienced hate speech at some point in their life. So you can't just be stuck in your own mind. You can't just be selfish. You got to think about everyone. We're all getting lots of people getting hate speech, but what you have to remember is those people are hateful people. They're not your friends, right? So you have to realize that not everyone in your life is your mate, and you need to push forward and you need to get over that shit, right? Because then people who are giving you hate speech, they're looking for someone to pick on for any reason, whether they're gay, poor, ginger, fucking whatever. They'll probably bully you until you commit suicide, and they don't care if you're black, Asian, or other. Do you know what I mean? So don't let hate speech fuel you into being a hateful person because they're not nice people, right? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, moving forward, white hate. So white people, yeah, we actually do exist outside of America and in Europe. The Europeans are still being oppressed, right? Because obviously there's not many black people in Europe. Well, there are nowadays, but you know, while Europe was Europe, Europeans were also being oppressed, and they still have been, and they still are oppressed, right? So there's a lot of poor Europeans who actually get put into shipping containers, right, and shipped over to other countries to do domestic slavery, sexual slavery, all these sorts of things. They get their passports taken off them, and they have to work for free, and all this sorts of stuff, and they're still getting oppressed, right? They live modest. Some of them live poor and modest lives who aren't even in slavery, right? They're still getting oppressed just by financial systems, this, that, the other, right? So white people aren't always having the best time, right? So this idea of white privilege outside, I don't know. Well, I'm pretty sure there's poor white people in America too. But anyway, Yeah. So you think of like some European girl, right, who's living in Europe and she's, living a poor, modest life. She might go over to America to get a better education, a better standard of life. She doesn't want to be met with this sort of hatred for white people, does she? Do you know what I mean? That's not very nice, right? Uh, but yeah, sexual slavery is seemingly glorified in America, right? Which is actually quite disturbing. And don't get me wrong, I've met and known girls who like doing the trading that have been prostitutes and all sorts of stuff, right? And not every pimp is, necessarily a bad person, but for some reason, some people out there are oppressing women and exploiting them for sexual slavery and all this sorts of thing, and they're not getting targeted, but then white people getting targeted for just being white. That seems bizarre. Now, in England, right, we have schools in London, an example, in cities and that, which are mostly, minority groups. And white people who are from England and from London originally, a lot of the time, don't even exist in these schools anymore, right? Which is just a fact of life, right? But if we keep pushing this hatred for white people, you will see a growing culture of extremely angry black communities picking on white people and bullying white people. So once again, Europeans even who are coming over to England, right, to also be in these London schools, getting picked on by a group of like, non-whites or whatever for just being white. That's backwards, people. That's messed up. We can't be thinking like that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, and then more so, even to the point you get people who have migrated from countries where they have slavery, where they do oppress women, and they're sucking up to people who've immigrants who've been to this, like, several generations immigrants in this country, and they suck up to these people when they say, oh yeah, I'm a do-gooder by, I've got an N-word pass and all this sorts of thing, and I'm going to pick on white people because, I'm defender of the black race or whatever. They're just looking for someone to hate as well. I don't see why that slides. Do you know what I mean? And that's fucking messed up, right? And then at the moment we've got this migrant crisis in Europe, right? And what you will see is that most of them I've seen and met, because I've actually met them in my town and that, because it's everywhere, right? All the hotels, from like the five-star hotels to the shoddy ones, they're putting up like all these people. They're men. They're able-bodied men who are not only able-bodied men, but they're actually people who have had military training in their lives. A lot of them, right? Who could be fighting their own war. And these people come on them on the marches and stuff, saying we want England to fight our race war, our racist race war, which we have no party to. Uh, and what their own men can't do that. Right, that makes perfect sense. Brilliant. But I mean, yeah, liberals anyway saying, oh yeah, like migrants welcome, but they don't let them in their homes, do they? Do you know what I mean? The Liberals aren't taking the migrants in personally, and this causes a massive strain on the economy and the culture and all these sorts of things. Which, sadly, what if some like Japanese fellow who goes, oh, I really love England, I want to move to England, I want to see London for like what London's worth, and they get there and it's not London anymore. What do we do about that? Do you know? Who gives a fuck about that? Or all the fucking Londoners had to move out of London. Now, I mean, yeah, that's another funny thing. Is like these white people have actually been quite accommodating for quite a long time now, and saying, yeah, we do want to help you, and we do want to do age work, and we do want to do all this and the other. And they might come from countries which have been supported by, like Christian Catholic Aid, or this the other, which has been white people for years pushing for better values in these countries, right? And then to say, yeah, come into our country, we love you, all this, sort of, this, and the other. Do you know what I mean? And then now we're getting this white hatred. It's like it's unacceptable and it's disturbed, right? But yeah, racists have rights. Do racists have rights? That's the final question, right? So first of all, what do we have? We have an Americanized idea of racism these days, don't we? Of an idiot who's picking on find the hate speech person we were talking about before, who wants someone to hate for any reason, and they'll hate that person, right? But what racism is really a lot of the time is what fear of the unknown, preservation of culture, and trying to defend people from imported crime. Do you know what I mean? So people who are scared of the sex gangs, people who are scared of the immigrants who actually flee in their countries because they're criminals or because they're perverts or because they're rapists or because they're murderers or whatever, and they're fleeing their countries and they come to white countries to hide, right? Do you know what I mean? These people, because that does happen. People get shunned from their own countries and they come over to like European countries and stuff, and they get slide in under the radar. right? These racists now can't defend the country because the Liberals have said that they're not allowed to do so. Because the Liberals have this backwards idea that what, you know, all people who are from a different race must be good. That's reverse racism as well, and that's stupid and all. Do you know what I mean? So, what have we got? What have we got to end on? Yeah, so basically, all racists are lumped into the same category, right? And they're not allowed to have genuine fears. And all people who are another race must be good people. And yeah, and the Japanese tourist who wants to come to the country, is there going to be any country left for him? Who knows? But yeah, that's the question. That's what we've all got to think about. So, what do we take out from this? I don't know, mate. Fucking, I don't know. But yeah, do racists have rights? You tell me. And white hate?